I become an F1 fan, and not because Drive to Survive. It's a fantastic show. It's because this is incredible. Like for me in my world, I get the opportunity to work with I think right now like 30 different companies, all Fortune 110, whatever, large massive organizations, and we're all trying to figure out AI. When I'm always looking to learn from different industries. I'm agnostic. I work with airlines, oil and gas, utility, retail, restaurants, you name it. And I'm always trying to learn from each other, aggregate all this information. When let's look at F1 teams. They've been doing data science and machine learning forever. And this, we're talking precision, precision, precision. They're trying to win races and they've got all these regulatory constraints. And just pulling up this video of like, here's computational fluid dynamics, which by the way, only can be used on CPU acceleration for whatever reason F1 decided. GPU is coming. And then just how do we make the vehicle? Like you've got the engineering cup and then you got the constructor's cup. The constructor's cup to me is more interesting because this is where the magic happens. You know, we're marrying the driver with the vehicle to get to the optimal performance. If we think of, you know, the enterprise, how do we make the business most optimal and marry that to the individuals that are actually doing the work? Very similar. And you can see it here. Just, oh my God, so much tech and data. And at any given race, there's like 300 sensors on these vehicles. So when they're doing all the qualifying races, they're collecting all this data. They're using computer vision for the tires to see how the wear and tear, so they have the right tire choice. And they're marrying all this data from the data scientists to extract the appropriate insights to make the car most optimal, to make adjustments to their race strategy, and in very, very short amount of times. One thing that I run into working with all of these enterprises is everyone's very good at collecting data, but not actually extracting insights from that data. This is kind of, you know, everyone's saying is the new oil. The beauty of where we're going with Gen AI specifically, and I want to talk about the difference between the algorithms, machine learning versus the algorithms of Gen AI and the use cases, but optimizing everything as quickly as possible to get the most optimal outcome. Now, one thing that is the architecture, the distributed system, getting the inference as close to the data as possible. I got an opportunity to see behind the hood and see that there's a lot of edge inference, getting some compute where it needs to be, plus there's cloud for high task computational needs, because you just can't have all of the acceleration needed for all the computations out in the field because of power requirements and whatnot. But you can do what you can here at the edge. This is the one thing that I try to instruct all the clients in understanding, is that we've got to optimize, you know, your software development, your machine learning development with the actual architecture, which is like the actual power that's going to run all this stuff. Machine learning is still king. This is another thing I want to make sure that is learned from Formula One. They're not using Gen AI. I know I see Gemini and I see Google all over the place, AWS. I didn't really see AWS pushing a lot of their Gen AI initiatives, just because they kind of a really strong backbone for all of Formula One for running compute in the cloud. But it is the machine learning algorithms, CPU intensive, very fast, very precise. And even if you go through this article with this McLaren team, that's mostly what they're doing. I mean, even computational fluid dynamics, if we go back here, the CFD, machine learning, not a lot of Gen AI. What I do think is cool is kind of like this next evolution of where we're going. And I think, yeah, this is the Uber blog. Enabling deep model explainability with integrated gradients at Uber is the utilization of LLMs on top of machine learning with proper engineering for explainability and natural language. There's a lot of applications for this, and the ability for businesses and the average layman who is not one of these brainiacs that is working behind the scenes and just looking at data charts and looking at SHAP and Lime and all the explainability charts, like you can even see back here. But how can you just talk to the data and extract insights in natural language? That is where I'm seeing a lot of high efficacy of generative AI. But foundationally, it is still built, like this Uber blog, it is still built on machine learning, not Gen AI. So there's so much to learn here around everything, and seeing the teams that have been doing this forever. Like if there was a use case for a F1 team to really optimize, get that competitive edge, McLaren to beat Red Bull to beat Mercedes and whatnot, they would be doing it. However, it is still here and in fine tuning this incredible machine for the most precise and optimized business outcomes. And in this case, it's winning races.